New York Times bestseller Treason, former Speaker of the House, Fox News contributor, co-chair of the Great America Alliance. Newt Gingrich is with us. To me, fundamentally, this comes down to a very simple equation. Are we willing to inconvenience a few people, in the case of this weekend, 109 people, for the safety and security of the American people and not gamble with their lives? Is that the proper, am I framing this right?
Well, I think you are, and I think that's what the left doesn't want to deal with. We had 8 years of Barack Obama, who was always willing to take risks with American lives on behalf of people we'd never met, because anybody who wasn't an American somehow attracted Obama's compassion in a way that Americans didn't. You now have a president who really takes seriously the tremendous threat of international terrorism, and who is prepared to take steps that are very tough-minded and that are going to inconvenience some people. But let's be clear. The people in the Orlando nightclub who were killed, they were pretty inconvenienced. The people in San Bernardino who were killed at the Christmas party, they were pretty inconvenienced. The people in Berlin who were killed when a truck went into a Christmas market, they were pretty inconvenienced. I think we have to recognize that we as a country have the right to protect our own citizens, and that is precisely what this is aimed at.
You know, everyone in the media keeps lying. They keep saying this is a Muslim ban. 89% of Muslims are not banned from other countries, 40-plus other Muslim countries, Indonesia, Turkey, Egypt. I can run through the list of countries. Even Dubai security chief said, we completely support the ban of President Trump, which I found pretty fascinating. So, you know, when we talk, why does the media, why are they so corrupt, so dishonest, and they insist on calling this a Muslim ban when everybody knows that is not the case?
Well, look, I think that Dennis Prager had it right last week in an essay entitled The Second American Civil War. I mean, what you have on the left is a complete, utter, total rejection of the presidency of Donald J. Trump. What you have on the left are people who are still in a state of shock from the fact that they lost, and they are, frankly, on occasion sort of deranged. That's how you end up with somebody saying they dream of bombing the White House, or blowing up the White House, I guess was the phrase. The fact is that the New York Times at any given moment will be anti-Trump and distort things. The Washington Post will be anti-Trump and distort things. The major networks are the same way. The most interesting thing to me is that almost no one in the elite media has had the courage to come out and say they've just plain been wrong. They were wrong about him in the nomination process. They were wrong about him in the general election. They were wrong about him in picking the cabinet, which is a tremendous cabinet.
Mr. Speaker.
And they're wrong now. And they can't do it.
For that acknowledgement, I think hell will freeze over first before you ever get these people admitting the same thing. You know, but based on their definition, though, and this is just a nuanced fact here, Hillary and Barack Obama banned Muslims when they put in a 6-month moratorium on Iraq. Jimmy Carter banned Muslims, based on their definition now, when during the Iranian hostage crisis, he wouldn't allow Iranians to come into America. You know, the idea that America could be attacked so often, and all we're saying is we want the right to vet you, make sure you are coming here with peaceful intentions, does not seem unreasonable in any way to me.
Well, there are two parts to this. First of all, as you just point out, being allowed to come to America as a non-citizen is a privilege. It's not a right, and therefore I think we ought to measure it that way. But the second thing, and this is what I think is truly historically disturbing by the news coverage over the last 4 or 5 days and by the language of left-wing Democrats who are totally irresponsible. Millions of Muslims around the world, 1 billion-plus people, heard Donald Trump is imposing a Muslim ban. Now, that's a total lie. It's a total lie because Indonesia is the most populous Muslim country in the world. They're not banned. India, by the way, is the second most populous Muslim country in the world. They're not banned. Go down the list. And as you point out, you've had the King of Saudi Arabia talked yesterday with President Trump. The head of the United Arab Emirates talked with President Trump. This morning, you had President Trump, I think, talk to al-Sisi of Egypt, and you had the vice president host at breakfast the King of Jordan. None of these folks came in and said, oh, my gosh, I'm so upset by this. And in fact, in their countries, they would ban these folks. And if they discovered somebody was associated with ISIS or Al-Qaeda, they'd put him in jail for a long time.
Or put him to death. You know, and the whole insinuation, the argument that I heard all weekend was, well, this is going to be a recruitment tool for Muslims. And I'm thinking, well, that contradicts 9/11, the 9/11 report. They were at war with us. We weren't at war with them. The Khobar Towers, the embassy bombings in Kenya and Tanzania, the USS Cole, the first Trade Center bombing, 9/11, and all these other attacks, some of which you mentioned. So it seems to me that they're missing a bigger picture, that they're at war with us, radical Islamists.
But see, if you're a hardline left-winger, the other guy can never be wrong. So what is it that we did? It's always what America did wrong. Because if you're a hardline left-winger, you just can't imagine yourself saying that maybe, for example, ISIS wants to cut off your head because they really don't like you. Instead, the answer has to be, what are you doing to force them to cut off your head? I mean, this is why left-wingism is kind of a psychosis.
It really is a psychosis. All right. You actually made a statement. I'll ask you about it when we get back, how the left should be scared to death after Donald Trump's first week. We'll get to Newt Gingrich on that when we come back. Also coming up.